Cautions when cutting hung up limbs. William Hovey Smith, 2015. I'm the author of Backyard Deer Hunting, and sometimes we have some limbs to cut in our backyard.
This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman, and we're having our usual summertime fall of old limbs from our pecan trees. What happens is these get a heavy load of leaves, and the added weight actually breaks down these long hanging pendulous branches from time to time. And right now, after a thunderstorm, I have one smaller one and one sort of medium-sized one down in my yard. So we're going to try to work these up with chainsaws right quick and get them moved early in the morning before the heat builds up. So it may be 100 degrees today, and the gnats are absolutely terrible here in central Georgia this year. So I want to try to get this tree sawn up right quick with a chainsaw, and at least the bigger pieces moved off so I can get around and start mowing my yard again.
This year we have some things to ease the process a little bit. The snapper lawnmower now has its deck removed, and I'm going to run it this way. And it also now has a 20 horsepower engine instead of the original 18.5. I had that engine replaced. And we also have chainsaws with a resharpened blade on it, so that should cut pretty well. Plus this is green wood. It's as green as you can get, so it should cut fairly easily. So the general progress of the work is going to be to, first off, take off all the green stuff till we get down to the limbs themselves, then cut the limbs that are on the ground, and then cut those that are actually supporting the main part of the limb, which is still hung up in the tree. And when we start working those, I think the weight of the branch will just bring the rest of it down. At least that's the general plan. So we're going to start whacking up on these smaller limbs first.
In starting this and other chainsaws that have priming bulbs, the directions say push 6 times. Don't do it. Push only twice. Otherwise it tends to flood very, very badly. Then, of course, push this up to the ohm position. Pull the choke out here as far as it'll go. Then you attempt to start. When it first starts to catch, then you push this back in, put your foot in here to depress this, and then it will usually proceed to start. So we're going to try it that way and see if that will work for us. Okay, push it in, put the foot all the way in.
It just took a few minutes to take the smaller limbs off the main branches, and so I'm going to haul these off now and actually haul them off to a burn pile that I've got back in my food plot. So we're going to let everything rest here for a few minutes. It'll take 2 trips with my trailer to get them back there. But when we do, then we'll be able to see the main branches and actually determine better how we're going to cut them to bring them down. We have encountered a slight impediment in the way of this limb that's fallen off this oak tree that blocks my trail to my food plot. So I pulled up my sled, which has 2 chainsaws in it, gas, wedge, axe, and the other material I need to actually work wood. So I'm going to have to tackle this one first so I can get my tractor down to the food plot and have a place to turn it around. I am incidentally putting in a 300-yard range on my food plot, and these big pieces of limb will actually be incorporated in part of the backstop.
Now, if chainsaw number 1 doesn't want to cooperate, we will go with chainsaw number 2. This one likewise has a really sharpened blade on it. We have it choked.
You can see the two ends of the limb bearing on the ground. The great weight of this limb is still being supported by the tree, and I'll show you that too. But the whole thing, it looks like it's going to fall in this direction. What I intend to try to do is to cut the smaller supporting limb off, that is the one to the right. And one reason I have cleared all the other smaller debris is if that thing starts falling, I want to be able to move back in a hurry and not worry about tripping my feet up on smaller branches and whatever. This is a reason you don't go into a limb like this and just start whacking off willy-nilly, particularly one that's halfway hung up the tree. So after we cut the smaller limb, then we'll cut a hunk off the larger limb about as high as I can reach. And that will put a lot of weight on the remaining limb and its attachment to the tree, and may in fact tear it from the tree and cause it to fall. If it doesn't fall, if it's still suspended, then we'll hook it up and we'll attempt to pull it down.
In retrospect, what I did here was both stupid and dangerous, and could have very easily resulted in me being hit by that limb. Well, now the limb is down, and here you see the butt end of it for the first time. It was actually half hung up on the tree, and the stringy fibers where it actually tore itself off. And as we look down the limb and come up, you'll see where we now have it ready to go. Yep. So it's loaded up, and what I've cut is ready to haul, and the other part of the limb is clean. That is, there are no branches on either side, so I can cut it with a chainsaw in either direction without any problem and without any fear of my feet getting tangled up in anything whilst running a chainsaw. Also out here, one thing to watch out for, particularly with pines, is that stobs will get driven into the ground, sometimes a foot or more, and broken off. So you'll have these covered with leaf litter, and all of a sudden your foot hits them and they don't move. Now if you fall on one of these things, they can pierce you like a spear. Yeah, because they're typically broken off with ragged ends on the other side. Pecan isn't so bad about this, but pine trees are absolutely notorious about it. So watch out for these things. So we're going to haul our load off and then be back and tackle more of this trunk. Well, this has evolved into the tale of 3 chainsaws. The Poland one, the sort of yellow-orange one in the middle, was the one I started with. And that one worked well enough to trim up the little leaves and branches and stuff.
And then I started working on the big limb that was across my trail, and it quit on me, and I have not been able to get it restarted since. Now, I did restart the Husqvarna, and it cut a while on that big limb on my trail, and then it quit. Now, the Husqvarna, as it turns out, has a problem with the oil field to cool the blade. That is blocked, so I need to have that one worked on. Well, I did put a new chain on the Poland I started with, put new fuel in an attempt to start it this morning, couldn't get it going. Went back and got my big saw, which is a greenish one all the way in the background, the bow saw. Now that blade is dull but still cut somewhat. So I did manage to get my limb sawn through, so I got that done and used up a tank of gas cutting up this limb, which tells me again that the blade is duller than it needs to be, so I need to have it resharpened. The unfortunate thing is the guy who does my resharpening is some 90 miles away, and it'll take me a week or more to get the saw back. Now there's another small limb down in the yard that I'm going to refuel the big saw, get it started again, and work it out so I can at least get my yard cleared. Well, hopefully we'll be able to get the big chainsaw started again. Choke. Okay, sounded good. Well, we did get that one done. Now, I trust you did see my point about walking around with all these dead branches on your feet. If you got something weighing hundreds of pounds hanging over your head, you don't want to do that.
With either big limbs or small, it's always best to move out that small stuff underfoot, because sooner or later, you're going to trip on it.
Well, thanks to the bow saw, we have our big limb loaded up now, and our smaller limb over here all cut up and ready to go. So for now, this is Hovey Smith, reminding you to hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Be legal, be ethical, be safe, goodbye, God bless, and see you next time.
Besides backyard deer hunting, I have other books. These include crossbow hunting, extreme muzzle loading, practical bow fishing, and my new business series of books, Profit, of which the first title are Ideas for New Businesses on How to Start Your Million or Billion-Dollar Business. Now, items recommended for the use of a chainsaw include a lot of stuff that I didn't have, but you certainly should use and wear more than I did. Always keep your footing clear. For more information on my books, blogs, and more than 425 videos, go to my website, www.hoveysmith.com. Good hunting and good eating from the outdoors. Goodbye and God bless.